It's day 3 of the 6th-stage Tour de Romandie, and Tour de France contender Bradley Wiggins took over the lead yesterday. But can he hold on as the race now penetrates the Jura Mountains on the road to this town? Moutier, it's next. Yesterday, the Tour of Romandie broke the will of the sprinters and instead showed a new side to British champion Bradley Wiggins, who won a rare sprint.
We've never seen Bradley Wiggins sprint like that before in his career. That was a great stage win, a double kick.
He makes no secret now of his ambitions.
Yeah, I want to win Romandie, that's for sure.
Today, he defends a few seconds lead as the race leaves from France to travel back into Switzerland along an undulating route that ends uphill. It's stage 2 of the Tour of Romandie, next on NBC Sports Network. Hello and welcome to the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra. We look down on the beauty of Switzerland here for the 66th running of the Tour de Romandie. Today it is stage 2 as we now go towards Moutier, having made our start from Montbéliard in France. I'm Phil Liggett. Alongside me, of course, is Bob Roll. Bob, the opening 2 days of this race has been sheer domination by Team Sky.
It seems as if only bad luck could derail Team Sky. Bradley Wiggins on yesterday's stage got a flat tire. His teammates rallied around him, paced him back into the field, and he was able to win the sprint and get the race lead.
But Bradley Wiggins yesterday especially happy because he won his yellow jersey in a sprint finish, and that is something he's never done before. He's noted as a time trial rider. So having won the sprint and yellow yesterday, now leads this race over his teammate Michael Rogers of Australia, 7 seconds down. Look down to 5th place. Andrew Talansky's in the white leaders best young riders jersey. He won that last year. Further down, Zabrisky's well up, another American on Garmin Barracuda in 7th, and the top 10 there completed by Tiedo Machado. This is the way we're going today, Bob. Montbéliard, that's in France.
Montbéliard is in France, the first 18.9 kilometers in France, or about 12 miles, before the peloton heads back into Switzerland. The finishing stage is in Moutier, 149.1 kilometers, about 90 miles of racing. But before they get there, 2 very tough Category 2 climbs, 1 Category 3, and a couple of sprint points out on the racecourse, and a long false flat drag up to the finish line. The sprinters will really have their work cut out for them if they're going to win today's stage.
And as we pick up the action, now this is a rarity in itself. The sun is shining over the race in Switzerland today with just on 20 miles to go. These 2 riders have been clear an awful long way. Christian Meyer, who is at the back of this group, and Lars Bach. The 2 of them are pretty well down overall. They're not a big threat at all to the race lead at the moment, but they're now starting La Cacarelle, which is a 2nd category climb of the day, and this is the last major climb of the race today.
Lars Bach has been successful in the Tour of Romandie before. He finished 6th overall a couple of years ago. He's had a great spring as well, finishing 5th in Paris-Roubaix. So Lars Bach on the Lotto team has been very successful so far this year.
So far, we've had the 2 climbs, and Bach has been the leader over the top of both mountains. But Kohler, who wears the leader's jersey, who is equal first in the leader's King of the Mountains jersey, back in the main field, has been nipping out the points. So he should be still in the lead as they come up to the line. This is the Sky team. They're doing what they said they would do. They are concentrating on controlling the race. Now, yesterday, the world champion here with the rainbow stripes, Mark Cavendish, also of Team Sky, Bob, lost 11 minutes, and now he's talking to his team car again.
Well, his teammates are on the front doing the tempo. He's off the back of the peloton having a quick chat with Sean Yates in the team car. But so far, Team Sky, they brought their A squad. Let's face it, they've brought their best men from the Grand Tours. They're here to win the Tour of Romandie, and they've dominated the proceedings. They're on the front of the peloton doing a tempo that's very tough for anybody to stay away from.
Now the clock's saying 1:34 here to the yellow jersey, which is the main peloton. That's Bradley Wiggins' indication there. And as they pull back, it doesn't look like 1:34. There's too many cars around this right now as they pull back into the peloton. It's about, I would think, about 50 seconds, that gap, as they're steadily making their climb up La Cacarelle. Steady as you go at the moment. Kevin Retzer on the right there from the Eurocar team. And he decided to take a look at the race and put in a little acceleration. Now, this might be a good move because Team Sky are feeling they've got control of the race just now.
Good little move here by Kevin Reza off of the front of the field. It looked like a little bit of a regrouping in the peloton after some hard tempo by the Sky Squad. And the breakaway's only a minute and 28 in front of that group. So Kevin Reza, a chance to get across there to the breakaway. That's a good move by the Europa Car rider.
It is, and they're a French team too. They're based on the west coast of France, and they're always having a little dig here and there. They want to impress, of course, for another good ride in the Tour de France. These are the two leaders, the new colours of green edge on the front, the all-Australian team, but this, in fact, is the Canadian member of that squad, Christian Meyer, being trailed at the moment by Lars Bak, who's a member of the Lotto Belisol team, as they go under the sprint banner here. Now, there's no time bonuses on the sprints this year, and so there's nobody racing for those small times there. We continue up what is turning out to be a long, heavy slog, but this is a beautiful part of the country. Danny Pate, the American rider, now with Team Sky, off to the far right of our picture as Movistar starts a little bit of a dig, tailed by David Zabriskie of Garmin Barracuda, sitting well up overall just now, 7th.
Dave Zabriskie coming through now. Great time trialist. He had a stage win in the Tour of Langkawi in his specialty earlier this spring in the time trial discipline. But Dave Zabriskie, he can get over the climbs also on a good day.
Just slipping off the back there, Martin Elmiger, former champion of Switzerland, is having a little trouble with the pace now. Again, climbing on these narrow roads through the lovely pineland forests here in Switzerland. The sun has been out for all of the day today. There's Zabriskie. And he's the man at the head of these two, are trying to get up to join him here. Man from Rabobank down there as well. And just look at that. All the blue and white are Movistar, or Sky rather, and the yellow jersey is also Sky. But that's Bradley Wiggins there, and he's surrounded by his teammates, doing all he has to do to protect his short lead overall. The biggest danger to him at the moment is Bout Mollinger of the Netherlands. He's 9 seconds back, so he can't let him out of his sight, because again today, 10 seconds for a win.
On second wheel, Dave Zabriskie still dangling off the front. Aggressive riding so far in this climb, this Category 2. Dave Zabriskie, perhaps a plan in his mind to put some aggressive riding in, put a little bit of pressure at least on Team Sky that has so far dominated the Tour of Romandie.
Well, there's just a chance Zabriskie is protecting his own interests as well here, because he's in the 7th place overall. He's joined at the moment by Guillaume Levelet. And this team really smarting, because they've not been named as a wildcard selection for the Tour de France, and so they're really trying to show the colours here as to support their claim for a place in the Tour in July. Now, this is the back of the field here, and it looks like Andreas Kloden, 71 on the far right there. They shouldn't be in that position when they're climbing up the steepest part of the climb here now, Bob. It's around about 15% this, and there's the peloton closing in.
A little bit worrying to see Andreas Kloden dangling near the back of the field. Generally, he's a very good climber and is able to follow, especially this far from the finish line, any acceleration on the mountain.
There's an unhitching of the ways here, because Lars Bak, who's won the 2 climbs of the day, is going for his 3rd straight. That will be all the prizes for him, and there will be a leader's jersey for him too in the King of the Mountains competition. It looks as though Meyer can't master that. This is still Levelet, and Zabriskie has dropped back into the peloton, maybe to look after his teammates, Dan Martin perhaps, as now Levelet tries to go clear.
Levelet just getting gobbled up here by the peloton, led by Team Sky. Dave Zabriskie back in the fold. Levelet trying to put in a little bit of an effort there, stay off the front for a few more moments. They're getting near the sprint point here, so Levelet trying to hold off the field. 2 men up the road currently.
Levelet has had 5 wins as a professional. He's turned professional with a small French team, Auburn 93 it was called, back in 2007. The peloton again, though, a little bit more organisation in the big bunch today. The pressure is not on like it was up the finishing climbs yesterday, when it completely disintegrated. We are over the top of the climb. The gap, and that must be now to Lars Bak, is just going into the valley. Actually, Bob, I said we're going down, but we're not at the top of the climb, because this is a false flat, as Paul Showing would say, before we shoot up.
A little flat there in the middle of the climb, but the riders still In the peloton, still negotiating this, there's Peter Stettner, second wheel, also of Garmin. They've just caught Christian Meyer. He's being led here in the pink jersey. That's the leader's jersey for the King of the Mountains competition. And that's Jean Debose, the young rider from the Sauer team. Sauer has been very aggressive because of, perhaps like you said, they have not been invited to this year's Tour de France, and that's devastating for a French team.
Of course it is. And this is Lars Bach, who's made a clean sweep of the mountains today. He's won all 3 climbs. And so just depends on how Kohler scores on this climb as to who gets the new King of the Mountains. 5 seconds to Peter Stettner there as he's gone underneath that banner. So he's gone over in second place. And isn't it how the times have changed over the last decade of world cycling, Bob? Always talking now of English names.
English-speaking riders are dominating cycling. Australians, Americans, and Britain. Phil, you must feel quite proud about the way the British riders are going.
Well done,
days.
Peter Stettner. I know his dad and I know his uncle, and they were both great cyclists. Well, there's the man who's under pressure, or is he today? We'll find out as we head for the finish in a moment. Well, as we look out across the Swiss valleys here, now we're into the Jura Mountains, heading towards Moutier. A little bit of change at the top here. The peloton is just riding its own tempo, and there is Bradley Wiggins looking pretty relaxed at the tail end of his Sky cycling team.
Bradley Wiggins in the leader's yellow jersey for Team Sky, looking to be not under too much pressure, but just off the front is Peter Stettner. He put in a big attack there just before the King of the Mountain points. They quickly caught Lars Bach. He's joined by Jean Debose, who is in the pink jersey as leader of the King of the Mountain competition. And it looks like Lars Bach was dropped immediately by Peter Stettner and has come back into the peloton.
Yes, Lars Bach, I mean, he's been out there nearly all day now. He's taken all 3 climbs, but in fact, Jean Debose has been in the mix as well. Now, he's wearing the King of the Mountains jersey today. He was equal with Martin Kohler with 8 points at the start of the day. He may have done enough to save that. It'll all work out at the finish as Peter Stettner now leads the drive here as we start to run down from the top of the mountain with Jean Debose, the leader in the King of the Mountains, right on his wheel.
Boulder native, born and raised, Peter Stettner, also the latest in the Stettner dynasty. His dad, Dale, won the USA Pro Cycling Challenge predecessor, the Tour of the Coors Classic, 2 times in his career. That's his son, Peter Stettner, in the breakaway today.
That's why he's our road ID athlete profile here. He's only 24 years of age. He comes from Colorado in Boulder, and he's now showing us just what he's really made of. A tough man, and not unfamiliar scenery here with Boulder, Colorado, perhaps, Bob.
Well, he had a great debut in the Grand Tours last year in the Giro d'Italia. He finished just outside of the top 20. He was also remarkably 14th in one of the toughest one-day classics of the year, the Tour of Lombardia. We're not too far from Italy, so good morale for Peter Stettner. And I think that it shows Garmin Barracuda has come today to be aggressive, try to break the stranglehold that the team on the front of the peloton, Team Sky, has had so far in the proceedings of the Tour of Romandie.
Well, he came out of the Spring Classics too, feeling pretty good. I hope you watched Liège-Bastogne-Liège with us here on NBC Sports Network, and in fact, he finished 54th in that classic as well. Well, 18 seconds. It's a little bit of a start. 15 miles to go to the finishing line. This is a descent at the moment, but there is a long, steady drag which brings them up to the finishing line. Interesting to see a move again by a rider from Sayeux-Sauchezan. The rider in the pink jersey is leader of the King of the Mountains, Jean Debose. This team really is having a great day out.
Sauer aggressive throughout Tour of Romandie so far. Peter Stettner, the Boulder native, son of Dale Stettner, twice winner of the Tour of Colorado, the Coors Classic, which now is today called the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. Peter Stettner was able to race in that in front of the home fans in Colorado, and I'm sure they'll be cheering wildly now that he's in the breakaway on today's stage. But Garmin, very aggressive on today's stage. Sky has been so strong, so dominant. You have to do something. You just can't let them drag Bradley Wiggins to the finish. You have to go out on the attack, and that's what Peter Stettner is doing so far today.
And that's why I think this is a plan by the team of Peter Stettner there, Garmin Barracuda. There are 3 possible winners in that team back in the peloton, and this is a distraction for them now, and that's why the chase is probably coming on. Dan Martin, Ryder Hejjedal, Andrew Talansky, all flying high in this race for Stettner's team, Garmin Barracuda. And so this means now that the big boys are going to have to chase these sooner or later.
These riders just off the front of the peloton, Jesus Hernandez, teammates of the Saxo Bank rider. They've been aggressive as well. Pierre Roland in the green jersey and black shorts also in this little maneuver here. Winner of the Alpe d'Huez stage in last year's Tour de France and best young rider. He's one of the biggest stars in French cycling.
Bob, look at that now. Look at the panic in the field here. They've really caught a crosswind here and they're turning the screw. This is a huge turn at the front now by Team Sky. I think they're a little bit worried by this Garmin Barracuda move of Peter Stettner because the field behind have had to react. And very, very good roads for racing on, but not great roads for the breakaways because 15 seconds up the road is the breakaway, and this is a straight road, which means they can probably see them. 12 miles to go to the finishing line. It's not a flat approach to the finishing line today, and the peloton are not taking any chances. See you in a moment. Tomorrow, the Epic Cycle Series, presented by Michelob Ultra, continues with Stage 3 of the Tour de Romandie, and there are 3 big climbs. It comes to you tomorrow at 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. Well, as we look down on the peloton, which is greatly reduced after that last climb, they're still trying to hunt down here 2 escapees. It is still Peter Stettner in the Garmin colours at the back, and it is Jean de Bose on the front.
Great breakaway here by Peter Stettner. Just 12 miles to go to the finish line. There's a long sweeping descent and then a gradual false flat climb to the finish. Great chance for the Garmin rider. He's been a part of this program since he was 14 years of age. Had a quick chat with Jonathan Vaughters earlier today about Peter Stettner, saying that he's one of his most special projects, watching him develop as a professional. Peter Stettner was fantastic in last year's Giro d'Italia in his Grand Tour debut. Big future ahead for the young man from Boulder, Colorado.
Well, Jonathan Vaughters is the team owner of Garmin Barracuda, and that was a nice piece of perception, Bob, because the race hadn't started when you chatted with Jonathan, who's over here in the United States at the moment. He's actually training Tommy Danielson, hoping to get him in shape for the upcoming Tour de France. So Sky has got control of the front here. They are all the riders in black. The pressure is on them, though, and we do know that after the split, Mark Cavendish, their sprinter, is again behind the race and won't be taking part in the finish today.
Pretty slim pickings for the sprinters so far in this year's Tour of Romandie. That might not change when you look at the profile of the mountain stages to come in the weeks racing here. Tour of Romandie, a very tough stage. So far, Team Sky on the front of the peloton, protecting Bradley Wiggins' lead, but they also have a man in second place, Michael Rogers, sitting in second place in the overall standings. You don't oftentimes see that in professional cycling.
Well, as we look at the back of the race here now, riders just sitting off the back, about 80, 90 riders perhaps in this group, 157 riders on the start line this morning as they went their way to these beautiful Swiss villages here, heading into the Jura Mountains now. One side is France, the other side here is Switzerland. And I have to say that this is turning out to be a very, very daring move by Peter Stettner, because he's putting a lot of pressure on the Sky riders, which in turn is taking the pressure off the teammates of Stettner, such as Ryder Hagedal.
If you're Ryder Hagedal or Dan Martin from the Garmin squad, you're sitting in this peloton. Sky is doing all the work. If they do chase down Peter Stettner, you have a chance to put in an aggressive attack. And if they're exhausted enough after chasing your teammate, that gives you a much better chance to dislodge Team Sky from the control of the peloton and the top of the leaderboard, which is Bradley Wiggins, the man. Fourth wheel, you can just see him following his 3 teammates in the yellow jersey.
Now, this is the cruelty of when you have the race leader on your team, and there he is, Bradley Wiggins in yellow. The rest of the race will just make his team do all of the work and sit there and watch and wait. Wiggins, that's pretty cool there as he wipes his face. These are his teammates who are doing all of the work. Their job simply ride as hard as they can and then get out of the way. But they must keep Bradley Wiggins at the front. This is Danny Pate. And Danny Pate, Chris Froome on the front at the moment. He was born in Kenya, but he's very much a British citizen these days, got a British racing license. But he is suffering from bilharzia, which is a very African disease, not a very pleasant disease, and it weakens you, Bob.
Parasitic worms, and Chris Froome had that off and on for a couple of years. They were out of his system in the Vuelta last year, and he got second. So great rider from Team Sky, Chris Froome on the front of the peloton.
And they're all hunting down, Bob, these 2 escapers. We'll take a break. There are the two leaders. This is a very brave attack here by Peter Stettner, who's driving this group at the front here, and he's joined by Jean de Bose, who is the leader in the King of the Mountains. They're prizing second by second the gap open.
It's great to see this gap going up for Peter Stettner. They're closing in on a 30 seconds advantage, 15 kilometers inside of 10 miles now to the finish line in Moutier. They do have a flat valley road before the long final gradual sprint up to the line, and a good chance for these two men to stay away from the field depending on the ambitions of the Sky Team. Sky Team has a tremendous squad here in the Tour of Romandie and the race leader in Bradley Wiggins.
As they come round the traffic circle, the banner ahead is the sprint point here in Delemont. It doesn't mean too much for these riders. There's points, and in the other races there are usually small time bonuses, but there are none in the Tour of Romandie. So nothing really to gain here. Just keep concentrating on the finishing line itself, which is slightly uphill.
It is a slight climb to the finish, a false flat, as they say. This is the leader of the King of the Mountains competition, Jean de Bose from the Sauer team. They've been a very aggressive team throughout the Tour of Romandie proceedings so far, perhaps trying to tell the French organizers of the Tour de France, you are making a big mistake by leaving this us out of the roster of riders.
Well, Jean de Bose finished 123rd in the Tour de France last year. That was his first tour, and he was looking forward to this year, but it won't happen. No selection there. Now somebody has started to move slightly off the front. We've just gone over that 32 seconds gap, and it is the green jersey here of the points leader. So he wanted that third place. For him it was important, Bob, because he's challenging for this green jersey points competition.
Rabobank
he got the lead yesterday.
He's in the lead of the points classification. That's Stef Clement from the Rabobank squad. The orange jersey team from the Netherlands, one of the top teams in the world, have had a pretty sparse spring so far. They're looking for results. Stef Clement, one of their veteran campaigners on that Dutch squad.
Yes, interestingly, it was Mark Renshaw gave Rabobank a big win in the Tour of Turkey yesterday, but today the breakaway actually stayed away. And if you read the riders' accounts on Twitter, then you'll know that they've ridden on many of the cases the worst roads they've ever ridden on in the history of cycle racing, they said. Anyway, there's the result at Delemont, and as I say, Clemens is the one that's important. He gets only 1 point, but he knows he's a little bit further ahead in that green jersey points competition. He'll try to get into the action at the finish too, if he can. Half a minute in holding now as we come down to the last 7+ miles up towards the finish. This is the town of Delemont, but we want the town of Moutier.
Great news for the two men in the front, including Peter Stettner. Just 13 kilometers to go to the finish, about 8.5 miles, and that gap is holding steady at 30 seconds, 29, 31, 30 seconds. So great riding by the two men in the front. Peter Stettner in with a chance for the stage win.
Great riding, but because they are holding them, Bob, they will feel they've got those two riders on a leash. And they wait for the climb to the finish, maybe, to start winding them in. But nonetheless, this is a good move by Garmin Barracuda. And I think that different reasons perhaps for the King of the Mountains leader, but for Peter Stettner, he's doing a great team job here.
He most certainly is, representing the team in the breakaway. 30 seconds now, going up a little bit, so that gap is just hovering there. That's good news for the two men in the front. For the race leader, that's not a bad situation. I have a feeling that they could swoop up to them if they needed to, but we'll see how it plays out. But great riding, heads up, being in that breakaway by Peter Stettner. He picked a perfect moment to go up the road just after the King of the Mountain sprint, was able to get off the front with Jean de Bose. So fantastic riding by Peter Stettner.
That's right, riders tired at the moment. Now driving on the front, and we just saw in there was Chris Froome, the rider who was brought up in Kenya. His job now is to keep this pace high, try and keep Stettner and Jean de Bose in the sights of the peloton. It's a prizing open, as I say. It's gone out to 33. We're inside 7 miles from the finish, and the peloton behind will offer no help at all now to Team Sky. TJ Van Garderen is down below our camera at the moment as he sits there looking at us. He's number 2, goes around tightly. He's having a great race. He is waiting in the wings to see if he's going to be given the nod to be the man to win this race if BMC are going to win it, because they also have the defending champion Cadel Evans on the squad.
Talked to Rick Verbrugge, the team manager of the BMC squad, about TJ Van Garderen. He said they're very happy with the way TJ is riding. He feels strong. He was aggressive on yesterday's stage and looking to do some more. He's in 14th to start the day in the overall standings, so good riding, but only a few seconds out of the race lead of this man, Bradley Wiggins. TJ Van Garderen having a good Tour of Romandie so far, but the big, tough stages are still to come, and that's where TJ will want to make his move.
Little chat on the microphone back to the team car behind the race there by the overall leader, Bradley Wiggins, while his teammate Chris Froome does all of the pedaling. Until he can't pedal anymore, then he will simply just get out of the way. Brent Bookwalter, number 8 there, riding in front of his American counterpart, TJ Van Garderen, number 2. And another team man behind, Steve Morabito. He's a Swiss rider, number 3. So Team BMC are making sure they are in a position to go with any reaction Sky might cause.
And this is what happens in the peloton. You see riders coming from the outside, moving their teammates into the front, keep them out of trouble, out of the wind. You need help. You need teammates, and Brent Bookwalter is doing the work for TJ Van Garderen for Team BMC. 2 young Americans on that Swiss-American program, having a great Tour of Romandie so far. I think they like these sunny conditions also. Beautiful day for a bike race today.
I think they'll feel as though they should be celebrating. They're either dandelions or buttercup on the left-hand side of the road there, but it's always a sign of spring anyway. Much better conditions than the opening 2 days for this race here, as we started in Montbéliard in France today and raced quickly across the borders back home into Switzerland. 31 seconds now as we wander up the road and see 2 lonely men down there, because the peloton knows that they have still got them very much in their clutches. They simply are not improving, and with 6 miles to go to the finish, they should still be gaining time. But the man who's stopping them is right here at the front of the race, and Team Sky will not let anything move in this race, and you only have to ask Chris Froome to find that out. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to the finish. We're back, and the great escape by the American boulder rider here, Peter Stettner, and Fabrice Jean de Bost still hovers on that half a minute, and they're now just 5.5 miles from the finish.
8.7 kilometers. Peter Stettner and Jean de Bost working very well together. That gap's starting to come down a little bit. The peloton has chopped 5 seconds off of that advantage, but it's getting very close to the finish line. So Peter Stettner still riding aggressively, and he's found a great rider to have in the breakaway with him. Both of them cooperating and doing the maximum they're capable of to stay off the front. But look at Sky here. They are very determined in this chase. In line, flat out now towards the finish line.
Well, they've got plenty of bullets in the barrel, but they've lost 2 big ones, because not only has Mark Cavendish been left behind on the last climb, but we've now found out that Geraint Thomas has also been dropped on that climb, probably sent back to look after Mark and bring him home. So now they're weakened in the chase here, but you wouldn't think so, would you? Because they are just driving at the front.
They bring a very powerful squad, including Geraint Thomas and the race leader, that man, Bradley Wiggins. But they have riders like Chris Froome also in their ranks, Konstantin Zivsov, a tremendous teammate to have, and of course Danny Pate. He gets to the front, he does the work day in and day out. Danny Pate, the American on the British Sky team, a great teammate to have when you're leading a stage race.
Well, tomorrow's a big day for these riders as well, because they've got 3 first category climbs, so they're the biggest climbs of the race tomorrow. They're well spaced along the route as they continue now to push on. This is a beautiful road, but we'll climb steadily out of this valley into Moutier. You can see by the rides at the back, some of them are just hanging on here, hoping the day goes quick. This is Frederick Willems, 105, just passed through camera there. But it's the old story, Bob. If you get the race leader on your team, you have to do the work, and there is no friends down there.
No friends for Team Sky. They've been dominant. No one will help them. They'll attack them most certainly every chance they get. But when you're Bradley Wiggins and you have the caliber of teammates that they've brought to this race, that takes a little bit of the worry also. It's great to see Garmin being aggressive on this stage. They've had 2 riders, Dave Zabriskie and Peter Stettner, attacking the dominance of Team Sky, and perhaps waiting in the wings. One of their riders is Christian Vande Velde, one of the top Americans in the biggest stage races of the sport. He's announced he'll do the Giro d'Italia in a week's time after this race finishes, and he's here in the Tour of Romandie to test out his form before the big Giro d'Italia.
Well, there's the beautiful River Bess as we now climb up the valley here. Well, you can see the way that Team Sky are being forced to chase here. That's why Peter Stettner has attacked along with Jean de Bost, and they will keep the pressure on till the moment they are caught. But bet your bottom dollar, if they are caught, and it's coming down pretty quickly now, Expect a rider from Garmin Barracuda or indeed the French team, Seo Seugen, to have an attack immediately. They won't let Sky rest now.
Well, Ryder Hagedal, the other Garmin rider and leader, along with Christian Van Velde, sitting in the wings, in the pack, following the aggression of the Team Sky, doing the pacemaking. If Peter Stetina is caught, watch for Ryder Hagedal to make a counterattack, try to go for the stage win and move up in the overall standings. Ryder Hagedal, the Canadian, has been designated the leader for the Giro d'Italia, and he will have the help of Christian Van Velde, one of the best stage racers in America and most experienced pros also.
Absolutely. The rider from Chicago, Christian Van Velde, he really will benefit from this race as well as he builds up his form for the upcoming Tour de France. But Hagedal has already announced he wants to go for the outright win in the Tour of Italy, which starts only 6 days after this race finishes. And so we'll need to see some more form off rider to show he's on course. He is the teammate of Peter Stetina. I feel that's why Stetina's gone out front. A gamble. You could win the day, but if you get caught, then why not be able to hand it over to Ryder Hagedal? It's down to 12 seconds. They're going to come at them, I'm sure of that now. But how much effort being put on by Team Sky here?
Konstantin Zivsov is the man in the blue shoes with the black jersey on Team Sky. Last man left for Bradley Wiggins.
Good
Still
spot.
making the tempo. 6 kilometers to go. They're getting close to the finish line, but if you're Bradley Wiggins, you still hope you have a couple of more teammates. Just one guy might not be enough to hold off the attacks.
And I'll tell you what, you notice there, Bob, the green jerseys of the French squad. Europe car coming at. Pierre Roland would love this sort of finish.
Be perfect for Pierre Roland. Very powerful rider, a great climber, stage race superstar, one of the biggest stars in French cycling, and a man to watch in the upcoming Grand Tours this summer.
Well, we're rising alongside the granite here of the Jura Mountains now. 9 seconds it's down to the high tempo riding by Team Sky, but very shortly the team are all going to be done. They're going to have to hand off to the man in yellow, who is going to have to in turn fend off what is certain to be a flurry of attacks going up to the line.
Flurry of attacks, indeed. You can expect that. Once this breakaway, and it looks like it's going to be caught, it's inside of 10 seconds now to Peter Stetina and Jean de Bos. And once they get caught, 5 kilometers, 3 miles to go, the sprinters teams obviously blown out. That's a much smaller peloton. There's about 50 guys off the back. Presumably all the sprinters are there.
Yep.
And the teammates, they won't have the big lead out. So it's a perfect opportunity for attacks to go and a very aggressive last 3 miles of racing.
Well, we should be able to see 7 seconds. There they are, just at the top of our picture in front of the motorbike. The train is coming up. Now, all the tactics have unveiled to you about Garmin Barracuda chasing down and then maybe launching an attack. I suppose the same has got to be said for the French setup, say as Sejourne. If they get caught, are we going to see one of their riders attack? Because they've had a very aggressive day out.
They've had a great aggressive day of riding so far. Green edge to the front. Luke Dubridge doing the tempo right now. He's got a teammate on his wheel. That looks like it's Peter Vini.
Bob, they call him they call him Durbo the Turbo. Look at him.
Absolutely flying right now. 4.4 kilometer, the junction just about to be made. We'll see where the attacks come from now in the peloton.
Oh, now let's watch this with interest. They've brought back the leader in the King of the Mountain, and they're going to bring back Peter Stetina, but he will not give up, will he? He's going to keep his head down till you hook up to my back wheel. Well, Luke Durbridge is hooking up. They're all across the gap now. Watch out for those riders in green, Team Europe car, because I would say they've had a plan, and noticeably now, the Team Sky have all disappeared. Now, that is why they were chasing down that breakaway. It's done the job. It's weakened the team.
And it's only 4 kilometers to go. Bradley Wiggins in the yellow jersey now, just a few riders down from the front of the peloton. See if there's anybody capable of attacking a very fast tempo, high average speed right now. 3.8 kilometers to go in the bike race. Sauer's been aggressive, and Garmin, and let's see if they can put in some attacks now in the closing kilometers of the stage.
Well, surely they're not going to leave it now, having done that great work, Seo Sejourne and Garmin Barracuda with the 2 rides. They've got to counter the move, surely. It's the only way to go right now as they continue on the attack here. We're running out of time, 3.4. Now, on our television pictures, this does not look a serious climb, but the speed they are going up, and they are on the slope, it is going to hurt an awful lot of riders. Although they are in the big pack, the chances of getting out of there and coming up to the front is not easy. Looks like we've got a heron flying off there. He's had enough. That's a grey heron.
Maybe spooked by the peloton, a big gray heron. Thank you, Phil. Good spot there along the river banks here, going into the finishing town. Pretty big group still, but not a big organization on the front. Green Edge trying to set it up for one of their riders. Perhaps a rider like Peter Vini has a chance to win the stage. They're the men in green and black right at the tip and the front of the peloton.
Well, as the snows melt and the river runs away on our right here, back down to the valleys below, we're getting higher all the time. We are now inside 2 miles to the finish. Forget these riders at the back. Well, we have to go, of course, where our television cameras take us. The action now is very definitely at the front.
Front of the peloton is where you want to be, circulating towards the front, right in the middle of your screen there from the Lotto squad. The white stripe across the blue jersey. Johnny Mearsman right now in the front. He might be the fastest man left in this peloton. Winner of a stage in Paris-Nice earlier in the season. So he might be the guy to pull off the surprise on today's stage.
Well, I'm just trying to keep an eye out there for the yellow jersey now. Bradley Wiggins, he's lost all of his teammates now. Now, in the world of cycling, if these riders finish like this, they will all receive the same time for the day. So Wiggins will feel very happy with that. But the first 3 riders over the line receive bonus time, which comes off their overall standings. So the man that wins today will in effect gain 10 seconds. There is Wiggins. Doesn't look to me like a man looking to win the sprint today.
Most certainly will want to stay out of trouble. He has a pretty handy gap on Bauke Mollema, who finds himself in 3rd place in the overall standings. And of course, Wiggins' teammate is in 2nd, Michael Rogers, who was right there on his wheel, keeping an eye out on the yellow jersey in the closing 2 kilometers of the stage. Just 1.2 miles to go.
Now, BMC, the riders in red on the right of our picture. They carry 2 top contenders here in Cadel Evans, last year's winner, and TJ Van Garderen, our man from Montana, who, looking at these mountains, must feel very much at home right now. He is also up there. They're all coming to the finish together at the moment. First 3 only will gain time now, heading in towards the last mile and a quarter of the day. We're in the streets of Moutier.
Big lead out by Saour Sojasun, the French team not invited to the Tour de France. Their riders are at the front of the field. They have a solid climber and a really strong performer in Jerome Capel. He's the leader of that squad, and there they are on the front of the peloton.
Wait, look at this. Saour Sojasun. Now remember, it was their man Fabrice Jean de Bos who set the pace, and there's a move coming here now. They may be caught here. 1.5 kilometers to go. Quickly marked out by Lamprey. Radio Shack are getting in the mix. So they've climbed over the top of Saour. This is now a mass sprint at the finish. 1 mile to go.
Radio Shack on the front now. BMC 3rd wheel. Not a big train lead out with 1.2 kilometers. They'll get the red kite 1,000 yards just over until the finish of this bike race. Radio Shack, that looks like Thomas Rohrager on the front of the field. Now, this is where that false flat, this long drag to the finish line begins, and a long, steady, gradual climb up to the line. 1K, there's the red kite.
1,000 meters to go to the line. Yes, we've lost a lot of the sprinters, but not as many as yesterday, and the teams are trying to organize this. Garmin Barracuda have got themselves back on the front. Remember the work of Peter Stettler, because that is now Christian van der Velde guiding them towards the finishing line.
Just about 600 meters to go. Christian van der Velde, the veteran on the Garmin Barracuda squad, at the front of the peloton, doing the big lead out. That looks like Ryder Hesjedal, his teammate, is 4th wheel, looking for a stage win for Garmin Barracuda today.
Well, Hesjedal has won stages in the Amgen Tour of California. He can deliver a sprint finish. He is 4th man in the line. That is why the work is being done now by Christian van der Velde. The rider sitting on the wheel of the 4th man, Hesjedal, is Alan Davis, the sprinter on the Australian Green Edge team. And there's a little move by Retzer creeping up on the inside as well. And now Hesjedal has made his move at 300 meters to go. As he makes it with that, Rui Costa on the 2nd wheel comes up behind him now. The Green Edge rider is also Alan Davis as they try for the line now. It looks as though Radio Shack's got Nizzolo in there. Now Giacomo Nizzolo was 2nd in the time trial. That was a surprise. As we now see, and now there's a move as they come on the left. Serge Jonathan Yver is coming. Look at the face of Saour. They clash with Costa. Costa looks at him and says, "Who are you?" Well, the answer is, "I'm the man who wins the stage." Jonathan Yver has completed an incredible day for Saour, who have not been invited to the Tour de France.
Perfect timing there by Jonathan Yver. He's very pleased. A big yell of victory for Jonathan Yver coming out of the field.
Well,
Rui Costa thought he had it, but Jonathan Yver timed it to perfection. He might have been trapped behind in those twists and turns before the line, but he uncorked his sprint just at the right moment and came up with a big win for the Saour team, who's not been invited to the Tour de France. Maybe a little bit of revenge for the French squad.
Well, our team tactics we explained for Garmin Barracuda and Stettler worked exactly as planned, but for the French team, Saour Sojasun, because with Yver they've completed an excellent day out here, and hugs all round, especially there from the masseuse That was a good day of racing, and that was a great sprint. Rui Costa, stage winner in the Tour de France last year, was a little bit shocked when Yver came off those barriers on his left shoulder.
Well, Yver came right around Rui Costa. Rui Costa looked to have a clean shot at the finish line, and you can see the twists and turns before that line. And so Yver, very difficult, tricky finish, and that was a great one by Jonathan Yver. Maybe he may be a field sprinter of the future.
Well, take a look at this again, Bob. There's Costa on the left, and watch Yver come through. And watch Costa look at him.
Costa there trying to get it to the line, but Jonathan Yver gets around him and the better of him just at the last moment. Luis Leon Sanchez in orange for the Rabobank squad in the third place. Here is Jonathan Yver. He comes from a long ways back. That might have been an advantage. 50 meters to go. He hasn't even seen the front of the bike race. He just gets around Rui Costa, and there's the finish line. Yep. Perfect timing by Jonathan Yver.
Judging by where the organisers placed that finish here in Moutier, I don't think they're expecting about 90 riders to contest the finishing sprint with a bend right up the line, the last 50 meters here. And it was the rider on the right from France, Yver, who got the direct line to the line. Costa still looking for his first win of this year. He was the rider who won at Superbest, the 8th stage of the Tour de France last year. There's the result for you. Yver winning today ahead of Costa. Luis Leon Sanchez, a good sprint by him from Rabobank, another Tour de France stage winner there. Gianni Meersman, who also won a stage at Paris-Nice this year, was 4th. Hagedal got there in the end in 5th. Nizzolo, a nice surprise again by the little sprinter from Radio Shack, 6th. Further down, Alan Davis, the Australian sprinter, was in 9th place. Well, a well-deserved win for Yver and his French team. Podiums when we come back. Welcome back. Well, we've seen an amazing sprint finish uphill here by Jonathan Yver, the Frenchman on Seyeux Sojourn. His first win, Bob, almost to the day since his last one, which was the Classica Primavera.
This is Yver's best win as a professional. Pretty sad news for the Sauer team, not invited to either the Tour de France or the Dauphiné in this summer's racing, but they're doing great in the Tour of Romandie. That's Yver's best win as a professional.
All right, well, let's have a look then, Bob, at just how he won this sprint. It was a very explosive finish. He is our Michelob Ultra Ride of the Day.
Starting his sprint from the cheap seats is Jonathan Yver on the lower left-hand side of your screen. He takes the far side of that right-hand bend, but then the course swings back around to the left, and there he finds himself with a perfect shot to the finish line, just coming around Rui Costa, getting the better of the Spaniard. That is Jonathan Yver's best win as a professional.
Well, that's our road ID of the day, and a great day out for the team. Well, there's no change in the overall leaders of the race, and Bradley Wiggins maintains his small lead overall from his teammates, Michael Rogers, and then the Dutch rider, Bauke Mollema. Another yellow jersey for Brad, another day behind him, but this race still has some very, very hard roads ahead, even though it's now reached the halfway point.
I changed Rui Costa's country real quick there. He's actually Portuguese, but Bradley Wiggins, no disputing that he's British and in the race lead of the Tour of Romandie so far. His number one intention this week is to defend that yellow jersey, go all the way to the line.
And at the moment he's defending 9 seconds because Michael Rogers is his teammate, 7 seconds back. And look at that, Andrew Talansky retains his 5th place overall tonight, and he's well in touch with the race lead. He's in the white leader's jersey, the best rookie. Luis Leon Sanchez, who grabbed the place today, is now 6th overall, and the top 10 completing by Platzer. TJ Van Garderen well in touch in 17th, only 15 seconds behind. Hagedal 18 seconds back. Stettner, even though he was a breakaway today, he's still only 19 seconds off. Now this will warm the hearts because Andrew Talansky of the USA won this competition last year, and he's in the hot seat again.
Garmin Barracuda very aggressive on today's stage. They didn't get the stage win. They're hoping for a stage win perhaps throughout the proceedings, but they would dearly love to get this white jersey as best young rider for Andrew Talansky at the end of the stage race. He's got a very good chance to stay in that jersey throughout the week's racing.
Well, Andrew Talansky there, next time we see him on our screens, will be in the Amgen Tour California as well. Now don't forget, the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra will continue tomorrow, 5 Eastern, our regular time. It will be stage 3 of the Tour of Romandie, day 4. And then we'll see ourselves in the hills. 2 first category hills coming towards the end, 1 pretty early on. And don't forget as well, for a full schedule of all our cycling coverage, go to NBCsports.com. Well done today to the French team, Seyeux Sojourn. We'll see you on the start tomorrow. For Bob Roll, Phil Liggett, goodbye.